Welcome back to my channel Celebuzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. Sibling of Pope Francis has made her voice heard regarding Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, and the focus has shifted to the individual capable of support Pope Francis as he carries out the goals as well as our future objectives. Saint Louis, the man known as the Francis of most people think of Asia as a powerful candidate for the position of Pope, who is since he continues Pope Francis's, not only as a result of his selflessness, empathy, and being able to communicate with individuals on the space between society. Cardinal Tagle was a theologian, has a kind and cerebral personality. He fails to not just a religious figurehead, but also intimately related minister who aspires to hear as well as those in positions of authority, poor. His admirable traits turn him become a deserving, carried on the ideals that Pope Francis refers to. Maria Elena Bergoglio's and Pope John Paul II's lives. The life of Francis is not one of greatness, in contrast to the intricate web of deep a strong sense of purpose, serenity, and love. These characteristics are the building blocks that show the struggles that a family has endured numerous challenges, still persisted, faithfully acknowledging the grace and faith that endures forever. There is no Bergoglio clan that is family that is well known or has a lot of money, but their asset is priceless, an unwavering commitment and genuine affection. After Maria Elena came into this world, her parents was simply your average diligent worker and compassionate Argentines. Her dad, a guy named Mario Jose Bergoglio, diligently worked on railroads, using his hardened with a lifetime of labor, but his spirit was at rest. Dear Maria, Regina Maria Seavori, who is Elena's mother, the matriarch of the family who maintained the hearth glowing with affection and warmth, regardless of they lacked wealth in the traditional sense. Love abounds in the Bergoglio household. The kids picked up the idea that in that house paramount concern of one's existence is not fame or fortune, but love, unity, and kindness. One of the smallest was Maria Elena, family of 5. She had one older brother in due time, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, succession to the papacy. On the other hand, regarding Maria Elena, he was merely an older sibling from the start, an exemplary figure who shielded her from the life's tempests. She had other siblings named Horatio Alberto, Regina the Martyr, and Oscar and Adrian, who both have their dreams. They have all since passed, though. On their way out, Maria Elena remained behind, protection of the Bergoglio fortune. At the tender age of 16, Maria Elena was father, departed this life. Quite a few kids, the weight of such a loss might be immense, but, in her anguish she had company. Jorge, in addition to being her brother, Mario was also her first and second father figures think about. He instructed her in the art of tango, to light up even if she was feeling down, and first and foremost, how to maintain her composure overcoming the ever-present obstacles in life. A life lesson about love, power. Maria's followers have triumphed over adversity. For the entirety of her life, Elena served as her inspiration to consistently stay strong, bounce back, and brimming with faith. An integral part of her family's Maria Elena's biography. After Jorge departed Argentinian for Rome, a sentimental token accompanied him. Then again, the separation of a body of water and the crumbling ruins of the Vatican was unable to weaken the link in their own. But even while Pope Jorge Mario Pope Francis, formerly known as Bergoglio, never forgot his background or identity, it was Maria Elena was frequently referred to as, and Jorge remained his brother's name. No honor, minimal glitz, because genuine affection need not be crowned. After Jorge's election, world celebrated when he became Pope in 2013. But rather than a display of pride, Maria Elena sobbed, but due to her familiarity with its meaning, the weight, physical separation and isolation. In after a second of candor she desired for her sibling had failed to elected, even though it's self-centered, she admitted. However, the thought of abandoning Miss Sibling to the entire planet. With whom was she to fault? In cases where the one you care about the most becomes a symbol tune in a million, it's difficult to ignore in their disappearance. However, Maria Elena did not allow resentment to dominate. She did turn down her brother's invitation to crowning ceremony as Jorge had desired, and decided to give the money to charity instead. She was that person, submissive, reserved, but powerful, like the mountains themselves. Even though everyone Maria, who was honoring Pope Francis, a life of simplicity was Elena's choice in Buenos Aires. Shied away from the spotlight center of attention, declined interviews, and avoided the pursuit of stardom and book deals. The only way to preserve her family's history true. In her eyes, Jorge constituted far more than the Pope. He remained the sibling who read her bedtime story while sweeping the floor stories. an emotionally resilient man capable of taking the lead and having a heart that can always prioritize his family. Regarding the question in relation to her sibling, Maria Elena is unable to avoid bringing up Jorge's obstinacy, as well as his distinctive brand of comedy. And people pay attention to what she says because filled with authenticity, they become more uncommon. In the modern era of glamour, a dogged mother and a peacemaker, Maria Elena brought up her kids using the same obsession. Christina's daughter Bergoglio achieved fame as a Madrid-based artist, tracing her name with a paintbrush rather than a cross. Jose, another San Ignacio Bergoglio, frequently boasts about love passed down through generations of a family, tenacity, trust, and resilience. Dear Maria Elena, the caretaker of the Bergoglio genus flicker, carries on with her existence, modest yet brilliant, emanating light from a star that cannot be disturbed by light up. The narrative of Maria Elena goes beyond that of a mama or a sister. What this means is that something a survivor endured. By 2015, when things went downhill and she was, despite being in the hospital, Maria Elena failed to fall victim. Rather than grumbling, she was smiling. She struggled. Meanwhile, in regards to the incident afterwards, she did not mention inconsolability, but joy in the face of the laughter that sustained them through the tears, continuing at a time when it appeared as though falling apart. The memories are with her. Among her siblings who have passed away, Alberto. As artifacts, Marta and Oscar should not be bereaved, but to reassure herself that death and love last forever. As a family, we have experienced inconsolable, grieving, and devastated, she says. However, even at the most bleak times, somehow we manage to find humor in every situation, hardly enough to fortify our resolve to get back on track. No, it's more than a saying. Maria is defined by this truth, the life of Elena and the life of all people. On the depths of despair, mirth emerges initially lightbeam. Plus, when that mirth is conveyed by an individual who has endured more, unlike the majority of us, it has a calming effect on regeneration occurs. During Pope Francis's transformation, the Catholic Church's public persona, featuring a compassionate message that is both simple and Maria. Elena is an unsung hero in the fight for reform, the backdrop. Living through those prior to, before to their use in the media, but since she had them deeply embedded in her from at the outset. Her demeanor is advertisements featured in print publications. No, she is not a host. Lavish celebrations. As an alternative, silent Maria Elena expresses her admiration for the globe that modesty does not imply frailty, but the most significant asset. Moreover, maybe considering most significant insight that Pope Francis has ever the information he inherited from her. Assuming that you've ever used to keep your family united in agony, everybody who has ever observed, you watched while your siblings soared in the past. If you have ever opted for quiet notwithstanding a desire for praise, affection despite Maria, envy and the triumph of faith over terror, your tale is intertwined with Elena's. A brief but meaningful story of neglected, those who are heroes and don't require spotlight, but maintain the love's wick continuing to burn, even in the depths of global system. Since Pope Francis's departure solely caused a profound hole in the Catholic, the whole church has been swept away, church on par with the most erratic popes during the modern era. When you're in the mood for customs while yearning for new ideas, this instant could spark a long dormant desire who you are. With Francis at the helm, changed, the majority of the 135 cardinal, those who will be elected to serve in the Sion Chapel, appointed them in early May. In Hisha's a significant impact, although it is not linear or in a steady fashion. Francis is not the one who is exact replicas. He decided cardinals holding a variety of religious backgrounds, both cultural and continental. As a result, we are left with a diverse group of personal goals, dreams, and visions. That, in turn, is what elevates this conclave even more unexpected. Vatican insiders from veteran reporters, retired diplomats come to a consensus. The year 2025 there will be no distinct front in the conclave, no clearly in the lead. Simply a universal church seeking a deserving leader, on the cusp of profound transformation. That being said, what exactly are cardinals trying to find? Idonage, not the allure of the media. Those people are searching for a reformist vibe or custom, in the interest of a capable leader. The intricate bureaucracy of the Vatican, while in addition to mending pastoral wounds all around, entire planet. A kind soul that mourns for those holy, in the mire, but they also hold the promise of redemption. A universal perspective, a pope who represents everyone, not simply the Romans. Within the confines of an enclosed entrances, each and every one of the burden of past events rests on the skull. Sauho is being mentioned in hushed tones at the majority. Bruno Pavarotti, Italy 70. One that Isbet, right now, the Vatican's secretary. The foreign minister of the Vatican, the state, renowned as a seasoned diplomat, peril and cool collected, and seasoned. It is his viewed as a governing body that maintains equilibrium, who deftly guards the Vatican operating without a hitch. Gamblers, bookies, and his algorithm is a fan of. Quite a bit conventionalists provide discreet backing, but even Perelin manages to contentious issues. The role he plays at the Vatican, the contract with China has come under fire, and as certain individuals have been prompted to question whether he is also associated with cardinals bureaucratic and emotionally distant from livestock farmer. Diego, Luis Tagle, South Korea 67, Jesus Christ, King of Asia. If there was a spiritual son of Francis and his name was the Tagle, sympathetic, affable, and greatly beloved, particularly throughout southerly region. When it comes to personification of empathy and feeling compassion, sobbing while preaching, welcoming the destitute, stooping through the agony. If chosen, Tagle might spark a fresh movement within the church, appealing to a new age of consumers that is more and more estranged from the house of worship. Not to mention well-known individuals, someone such as Luis Antonio and Pietro Parolin. The halls of authority in the Vatican, Tagle are crammed full with new faces right now, everyone with its own unique background, goals, and uncertainties of what is ahead in terms of place of worship. Matteo Zuppi, an Italian man in his 69s, is revered as a leader of his congregation. Originating from the Sant'Iddio people, whom are given the opportunities it presents for religiously informed discourse and philanthropic endeavors, Zuppi has achieved remarkable leave-in impression with his tenderness and empathy for the underprivileged and excluded communities. He personifies the ideal of the church that continues under Pope Francis as requested. But Zuppi's downfall, does he have any background in internal Vatican politics and administration, and crucial element in coordinating large-scale curia apparatus? Peter Hungarian Erdo, 72, is a representative of the church's conservative faction. A deep, religious thinker and war veteran, Erdo, as a canonist, may ask cardinals for support who would like to see things back to, as they were, broadened academic clarity. However, his staunch opinions on concerns regarding ethics and society, provoking profound divisions across a worldwide congregation that longs for harmony and diversity. Ghanaian Peter Turkin, 76 years old, has become a global symbol for fairness, harmony, and ecological protection. He was the head of Theopec's Council on Peace and Justice. This was followed by the Dicasteri, encouraging holistic growth of individuals. If elected, he would make history as the first African-American for the Pope in almost a millennium, bringing forth a fresh phase of African being present in the Church's life. Boutous years and several realistic difficulties, such as triumphing, insufficient reaching an agreement in a conclave, might compromise his opportunity. Mark Wellet 80 originates from Canada, and was formerly the head of the Bishops' Assembly at the. Additionally, the Vatican has been brought up, but he has very little chance. The sum of his years in light of current scandals involving accusations of improper handling of situations involving abuse that have to a considerable degree facilitate the challenge that well might achieve success in age-restricted gathering that calls for agreeing on anything. It must be kept in mind it is not enough to say that a cardinal conclave cast your vote. It is a subtle yet powerful procedure, negotiating the terms of confidential discussions, of contemplative prayer. In the past, top-tier applicants at the first aren't necessarily the most qualified in the end selected. Out of the ordinary concessions, transient periods of imagination, and the subtle direction of God's sanctifying grace can perpetually bestow strange individual to the rooftop of the in awe and expectation, loy over the globe. There was a holy moment when with the sounding of the Habemus Papam, not only shall the papacy be reconvened, but a new part of the world's religious pilgrimage will start as well. Naturally, even though advanced AI systems and algorithms for advanced analytics are a significant role in making the forecast, the truth has not changed. At last, those who don the white robe are exempt from neither determined by statistics, not by a betting table models, but via the tacit agreement of, while the cardinals humbly offer their prayers find future enlightenment through divine means, to the Roman Catholic Church. Presently, a great deal of forecasts imply that when it comes to well-known such as the nits of Cardinal Casimir, or Laurielco, Cardinal Stannis, often included in lists produced by AI. Nevertheless, individuals such as Luis Antonio Tagle originating in the Philippines and Michael Turkin from Ghana are likewise contending, with each having a one-of-a-kind narrative and hopes for the alteration of the worldwide church. AI paradigms, even if they are capable of processing millions of pieces of historical media and audiences' information in the field of psychology, I must respectfully state that within the depths of the human spirit, where will and mercy reign meeting, point, very unlikely. AI is a reflection of the currents of the world's attitude, the worries goals that are bubbling up in the believers' souls. However, not even one, although even the most intelligent algorithm would acknowledge that the Pope conclave ranks high among the unexpected occurrences throughout global religious and political life. For what it's worth, this is a dramatic and holy, is more than simply its exciting unpredictability, yet it is extraordinary potential. First of its kind and contemporary at one point in time, an African or Asian popey could run for office. To take such a risk transcend conventional boundaries, welcoming the church's love to faraway places before seen as secondary, confirming proves that Catholicism is actually Catholic, encompassing all nations and peoples, civilizations, every wound requiring caress restoring health. If you've ever thought, religion is not only a concept, however, it is one that pays attention to the request of mankind, brushes against the primordial ash, welcomes the hurts and dreams of this planet, then those convictions are on the line right here. Because the next pope won't merely oversee a house of worship, but are not bound to influence the human spirit in the 21st century, advocating measures to ensure that the low-income, ecological, peaceful, and human respect all throughout the world. His responsibilities will include carried the spirit of more than a not just individuals, but entire continents longing in search of solace and direction. Consequently, in cases where when white smoke rises, it's a wonderful day, emanating from the St. Chapel's chimney and out of the Loya comes a new name. The world is about to alter, St. Peter's yet again. Regarding the fact that someone has been opted for, but now that a fresh possibility has been at birth. Everyone from Petro Parolin to Luis Matteo Zuppi, Antonio Tagle, and Peter Erdoif, an unforeseen sum. We shall grasp the reality that the Church is functioning, never gave up, never stopped pushing ahead. A form that undergoes continuous regeneration in the past. Do not merely observing with an analytical, icy gaze. Feel passionately, own with optimism, and be as trusting as you can. Be in your prayers. Why? Because right now is more than a happening in politics. This has been foretold in the beginning to make a wonderful breeze in order to erase the scars and abandon the dreams of modern society. My deepest gratitude for being here today to view the video. With any luck, these shares have profound and significant viewpoints. Assuming that deem the material to be of value, remember to like, share, and subscribe to keep reading, joining us on our expedition to learn about the most remarkable tales from around the globe. Hope and tranquility be with you.